yesterday. I wanted it just to have such an easy flow and just to have everything everybody needed to come here and have this experience. But we didn't get approval until like March of this year.
So actually, how long has it been? We're with Gina Rose today at the Kent Rose 2023 arm drop. Her husband passed away from cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tried all day this morning to get pink hairspray because I was going to do my entire head pink just for Kent. This right here and this lady right beside me, this media pass means the world to me. It's an honor to be here. Tell me how everything come about.
Well, most people that knew Kent knew that he was the coordinator of one of the largest no-prep arm drop drag races of its time. A lot of people say that it was ahead of its time, or he was ahead of his time, because a lot of races are mimicking or replicating the style of race that he did.
Because he did it with his arms instead of a flashlight.
Yeah. And his goal always was to allow a space for the grassroots level drag racer to be able to race. And it allowed, he always used to say we have something for everyone, because it was important to him that everybody that wanted to race, whether they had a $3,000 car or a $300,000 car,
right,
had a space to do it. But he was a former street racer himself, and he was at a point that he really wanted to get people off the street, kids off the street,
right,
and give them a safe space. So he always says we're doing this illegal thing in a legal environment.
Right.
But after he started it, and he could see that there was a lot of kids and families, and he wanted to start building on that, so he started adding like inflatables and big hill races for kids.
Right.
And the more he added, the more people attended, and the more impact it had on the community.
It was basically giving a family, it was a whole family atmosphere. No alcohol, no, just like a family fun day, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then, would you say he was probably pretty quirky from the videos I've watched?
Oh, my goodness.
But then he was probably pretty, not really a smart ass, but he combined both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was great. I don't think he ever really realized that, how he was perceived and how accepted he was, but he loved picking at people and stirring the pot a little bit, and in the end, when people got it, it allowed them to engage and feel a bigger part of something.
Right.
Because he was acknowledging them and giving them the stage. And one of the things that I watched in a lot of the kids that started racing early on is at Katy Dragway, we had one guy come over, and he said that I was I was no one from nowhere until I met Kent Rose. He said he just worked real hard, pieced his car together, and came to one of Kent's races. And because he had driven from a certain place that was a distance from us, Kent made over him and told him, he was so appreciative and humbled by his presence. And I think the guy said that at the end of the race, Kent was ready to do another race, and he saw the guy leaving, and he stopped the race, and he said, "Hey, are you coming back again?" And just that guy, he said, I was a nobody from nowhere, and Kent made me feel like I was something.
Right. What else are your futures for this?
Well, so
Kent didn't want a funeral, right?
So the last race Kent did was in 2014 here, and then he did other races like at Katy Dragway and London Dragway. And as he was going, even when he was doing events here, he wanted to eventually start giving scholarships to kids and doing a lot of charity work with the money that would be made. And so as we started planning, and we had done those events and just planning how we could do this, and there was people that had abandoned airstrips in their towns. And I think we were even talking to Dina Parisi. He was on the Sam Oxford Jr. show one time, and they were even talking about, in their area, New Jersey, New York, or wherever, about how that he could potentially go into towns and set up races in abandoned areas or abandoned airstrips and breathe new life back into a community.
Right.
And we were seeing all kinds of possibilities in that. But every time we would talk about it, it would be how he could do it for charity. So he sadly was diagnosed with lung cancer in May of 2016. And he was just scrambling, just trying to really fight the fight. But at the same time, he already had so many fans and supporters. It just he only gained more and more as it went along. And there was times close to, he passed August 28th, but there was times close to the end that he was planning, he wanted to have a drag race. And people came in, Jody Hadley and Scott Taylor came in, and they wanted to do a memorial drag race for him here at Combs. And they said, we want to do it to raise money for you and your medical bills. And he said, no, if we do it, we're going to do it for charity. And so that was in probably about the last 3 weeks that he was alive that discussion came up. And he just kept planning toward an event. And so on August 26th, we were given some bad news, and it was basically that the treatments that were happening were not working and that we were really at a point of no return.
Right.
So on August 27th, he was a very clear mind, but on August 27th, he kept giving and giving to people, and they wanted to be so close to him. I mean, people would stop in and see us. He was telling a room full of people and drawing out on paper of how we could do a drag race. And he was like, you all can do this. And he would draw out, you will create roles as you go. And he had this song on his mind for probably 6 months, maybe a year, and we'll play that today. But it wasn't his style of music, but he saw the potential of how it could be used as a promotional song for a race. Yeah. And so here we are, basically, he passed on Sunday morning, but this is Saturday night. Here we are sitting there, and he wants me to show this room full of people that this is the people, you all can do this race. And this is the song you should use. Right. So we are in ICU, and here I am playing this song to this room full of people because it was important to him that we know that we could do this race, and that also this is the song he wanted used. Right. So as far as ever a dying wish, it was a dying wish of his. And the reason he wanted is that he knew what an impact this event made on the community.
Right.
So from then on, we've carried Dante, especially Dante and I, we have felt a responsibility to the community to try to make this happen.
I think it's great as far as everything that you're doing and what he stood for. How long did it take to get where we're at today? The planning and all that.
Well, there was a lot of years that we were basically building the foundation because, a week after he passed. And the
foundation you're meaning is, what is it?
Okay, so a week after Kent passed, we established the Kent Rose Foundation. And the goal with that was to carry on his mission of all the work he wanted to do for charity. And he had so many plans. Like, he was always saying, I want to give away auto tech scholarships. It was always flowing of what could we do. And
he was thinking before the 2000s got here, basically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was always...
like the 21st century.
Yeah, well, he always did things for kids, and racing was just in his blood. But he just always... we hear story after story about how Kent bought a bicycle for a kid. And he didn't have... Everybody didn't always know what he did, but he was always very helpful to kids in the community. So we just wanted to carry that on. And he was known for giving bicycles, so... anyway, we
so all the merchandise that you guys have over on the other side of the track, mm-hmm. Anybody can go to your website?
Actually, we continued the merchandise line of Arm Drop Garage because he was so proud of the development of that line, and we were doing it at the time that he was really coming into this arm drop that he established here at Combs Airport. But the proceeds from that we continued that line. He was so proud to see people wearing his merchandise. So the way we just continued it because it was a way to keep that branding, and it became an iconic logo. People just identify Arm Drop Garage with more than just a logo in a garage. It's a lot about Kent, what he did. But after we established the foundation, it wasn't in our minds then to really do a race because we were more in the building stages. But we have been to racetracks, Ohio, Kentucky, everywhere we would go. We were at Ohio Valley, Katy Dragway did a race for us, Clay City. Everywhere we went, everybody asked, are you ever going to get racing back at home? So the more we heard it, and the more stories we heard, and the more we knew what it meant to people, the more responsibility we felt, and we knew we had to do it. So we started about 5 years ago thinking, well, actually Dante and I came down here, and at the time, Dante was very young at the time the race was going on, and it was hard for him as a young kid to let his dad, something take so much of his dad's attention. But as a young teenager, a young adult, we stopped here one day, and this is the first time he'd really been here at Combs to walk the track or whatever. But when he stepped out of the car, it's just like there was such a sensation, a breath of air, and he started pacing. He said, Gina, we have to have a race. And I was like, to me, I was thinking, oh God, because I know what it takes to do a race.
Right.
But he paced a little bit. He said, let's post it right now. And I think that might have been in 2018. He said, let's post it right now. Let's tell everybody we're going to have a race here. And I was knowing, being on the planning side of it before, it takes a little more than that.
Right.
And we needed the proper approvals and everything. I didn't want to just put it out there. But we walked it, and he said, where did Dad stand on the line? So I took him out there, and he stood there. And then I took a picture of him, and I got back, and we were taking a selfie or something, and we looked, and there was only a little bit of clouds. There was no rain anywhere. And I took a picture and posted it that day, and there was a rainbow at the end of the strip. And Dante said, it's a sign, it's a sign.
Yeah.
And so I thought,
he was watching over you guys.
He truly believed it was a sign that day. And so my thought pattern stopped from that day. I always had it in the back of my mind, is that we really need to do this, because now it's important not only to Kent, for the community, and me, but Dante felt the importance of it. So we started planning it, but there are so many things that has to happen to get permission here. I mean, it is an active airstrip, and we had to talk to a lot of people and get the proper insurances, because we're not a traditional drag strip.
Right.
So we had to get proper insurances that would insure an event like this in a non-traditional setting. But then we got approvals in March, and it's been a scramble ever since, because we want everybody to have we wanted the atmosphere similar to previous arm drop races, and we wanted to do it in the spirit of Kent, knowing that none of us are Kent Rose.
Right.
But in the end,
they broke the mold when they made that one.
Yeah, and in the end, like when it's all coming together, for a man that wanted this race, he told us that we would develop roles as we go. I never even thought of that at the time. For a person that wanted it to benefit a charity, and he told us the song he wanted, and to be able today to know we're going to have his race.
This lady right here has worked her behind off, and I'm blessed that somebody from the Arm Drop Nation reached out to me and said it was okay for me to be here. If you're not doing anything today, you need to get to this racetrack, or you need to watch all the coverage that's here. G2K, myself, No Prep Outlaw Mafia. Do you think there'll be another race here?
Well, I didn't put all this work in, and I didn't go into this thinking this is the only one. I've thought beyond it, and every step of the way we're trying to build. But the main goal is to nail this one and make sure we do previous races justice, and make sure that we show everybody a good time, and we give them that experience that they felt when Kent was here.
Well, not ever meeting him and watching the YouTube videos on the way here, it took me 3.5 hours to get here from Dayton, Ohio. I was like, I really wish I could have met him because we probably would have been like this. Because I'm basically a smart aleck, and I got that from him. But it was all in fun.
Oh, it was. It was like
He could tell you probably, well, some cars were probably on the starting line, and he probably had the microphone, and he's like, "Man, this car looks like trash," but it gets down.
Yeah.
And that guy would probably be, people that was with that guy would probably be like, "Man, he's really talking like that."
Yeah.
But then the whole crowd would probably laugh.
Well, we've heard it repeatedly. To the anticipation and to be able to hear what would come out of his mouth was worth the price of admission.
Right.
So a lot of people said, we even heard that in the hospital when he was having treatments. There was a young nurse that said, I went to Mountain Art Center when he was having those burnout contests, and I knew right then, wherever he went, I was going to go because just listening to him go on, it was worth the price of admission.
I laughed all the way here when I watched it.
He's a sight, but back to before I got emotional, what I wanted to say is to know that we're going to give him that race that he wanted for this community. We did work out, and we're still working out those roles as we go. Yeah. And as we were trying to figure out who was doing what, I thought of that drawing he made for us so much. And on this drawing that he did for us, he wrote charity. And to think that we're not only going to do it for charity, but the charity in his name.
Right.
And at opening ceremony today, we're going to play his song. So I hope we've checked all the boxes. I don't know how I'm going to pull
that off to record it. I'll probably just record it on my phone like this because YouTube is so bad with getting you demonetized. And I work so hard, but I'll figure out a way to put it in this video. Is there anything else you want to tell the people watching?
Oh my goodness. Some people have asked what keeps you motivated to do it, and it's you can be absolutely worn out, but just a kind word of a previous event and what it meant to them. How many kids that we've heard racing that big wheel race, and today we're going to have a big wheel race, and 3 of the girls that are big wheeling are arm dropping the big wheel race have all raced in the big wheel race. Really? And they have their original big wheels they're bringing back today. And we have a 19-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 13-year-old that all participated. And one young lady donated it back to us to give to a kid. But the other 2, it's like they're coveted. There's like, that's my big wheel. It meant everything to them.
It up.
But just hearing all the positive support, and beyond that, like this team that has stepped up, that has just worked their heart out because they believe and they want it. And the community support. It's important. The community support, like there is hardly one need that we have had, and it's big asks sometimes. Light plants, airport striping, lawn care, everything we've asked down to a diesel tanker is on site for us.
Right.
Yes, we have had expenses because we've basically had to bring this property back from the dead, from plumbing to electrical, whatever. But a lot of the big asks have been covered, and not just covered. Okay, our sponsors are not only sponsoring, they've helped us cut weeds. They've been on site for everything that we've done. So, I mean, when you get tired, that is the motivator. That is the absolute motivator. Like, you have that much support. How can you not?
Did you sleep last night?
Probably about 3 hours.
Me too. Just because I was that excited to get back here, get my spot set up, and get some coverage. And this interview was probably the most important interview I've ever done.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I mean, we're grateful to have you, and I wouldn't be able to end this without talking about Happy, Charlie, Jason, Brad, and Ryan Mitchell.
Happy's my boy.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, when I knew that we would have to have a team of support, because without Kent, we had a wonderful support team here on site, but I needed that person that would say, you go ahead and plan it, we'll do it for you, because we didn't have that system in place. So the first person I called, because Tin Soldier and Jason and Brad have a special connection with Kent, and Brad and Tin Soldier have been doing fundraisers for Kent. They did our first fundraiser actually when foundation started, but every year they've done a fundraiser for the Kent Rose Foundation. And then knowing that Jason's values and how he handles races, I knew would fit for the kid-friendly atmosphere that we had here.
Right.
But it was his, from the first time I called him, I said, if I can get the airstrip, would you do the race for us? And there was a yes. And then we've kind of built on that, and once we got the yes, then all these people stepped in. Charlie and Kent worked on races together, and you just look at this dream team of promoters that we have here that
They've
are all doing
had
this.
my back since I started my YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
And there was a promoter that Happy told me about that I need to stay away from, and I promised him that if I could come to every one of his races, I'd stay away from that promoter. And that's what I meant. I mean, you got to stick together in this, and I mean, he's had my back, so I had his back on that promoter. So,
Yeah.
and I kept my word. So, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this 21 minutes that you've shared of your the spotlight.
Well, here's what Kent said. Anybody that knows me knows that I have the ability to talk, and anybody I was talking to, Kent always told them to quit putting quarters in, because it gave me...
She does get windy. I've chased her for 45 minutes to get this interview, but this is the best time of my life right here.
Awesome.
I really hope that this goes viral, and that the Kent Rose Foundation and this arm drop race continues for many years to come, because Mr. Dante over there is a killer guitar player, and she's a great person, so is he. Everybody that's worked their butt off to make this happen, I'm greatly appreciative to be here and be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.